long time ago when I was in first year university, one of my friends lent me this fantasy, paranormal, romance series, and it was awful. But I have somehow managed to read every single book soon after it was released, because even though it's awful, it is bloody friggin' addicting. This is the Fever series by Karen Marie Moning, and as my usual plan, as I usually do, I made Chelsey read it. Chelsey has just come out of a 2-week bender with the Fever series. How are you feeling, Chelsey?
I'm so glad I can, like, expunge it from my brain now. Because day in, day out, probably about 5 hours a day, I was reading these books because I'd be reading it, like, I'd read it on the subway, I'd read it at lunch, I would read it on the subway home, and then I would get home, and I would eat dinner, and then I would read it some more. I burned through about 7 books in maybe, like, a week and a half.
It's like crack, isn't it?
Yeah. I was starting to think about it before I went to sleep, and then it would be the first thing I'd think about when I woke up in the morning. And oh my god, that does things to you! So I'm cleansing it from my mind now. I'm reading other things, and oh my god.
So the Fever series follows our main leading lady, Michaela Lane, as she goes to Dublin to investigate her sister's murder. And what she finds in Dublin is a world of magic and mystery and sexiness.
Sort of.
Ish.
She finds out that her problems are a lot bigger than she thought they were. Her sister died, but her sister was actually protecting secrets about the she said do, one of Irish names that I've kind of just blown over the pronunciation, and she does tell you, and I'm just like, I see words and I'm gonna pronounce them as I want.
Phonetically.
She said do.
She said do, actually.
Okay. And this is the evilest book you have ever
all
imagined.
of the evil.
And part of the addicting thing about the series is the world building. As she goes along, she reveals the story, or she reveals, like, the world so well. And it's so well thought out, like, plot-wise, and kind of just fits, like, really nice.
It's disgustingly good. Like, her world building is amazing. I just wish the rest of the book was good enough to, like, explore this little world, because every time I find myself reading these goddamn books, it's because the world building is phenomenal.
So what happened is, long ago, there was the Unseelie Court of faeries, and they lived forever, and they had this song called the Song of Making. There was a Unseelie queen, and she has the song, and it gets passed on woman to woman, kind of down the line, but I don't think any other woman ever had it besides the Unseelie queen. And then there was the Unseelie King, and he's kind of like the more powerful one, and he kind of gets bored of the Unseelie Court, goes off, falls in love with a mortal, and he's like, okay, well, I love you so much, like, you know, I want to make you a fairy. So he goes to the queen and is like, can you use a Song of Making to make her a fairy? And the queen's like, sorry, buddy.
Doesn't work like that.
Don't feel like it. And so that drives him batshit, just bugs the crap out of him. So he's like, you know what? I am going to figure out how to do the song without you. I'm going to do it.
So he goes off and he makes an entire court of fairies of his own, the Unseelie Court, and they're all fucked.
They kind of describe them as they crave whatever they don't have. So there's, like, the gray man and the gray woman who are, like, absolutely hideous, and so they feed on other people's beauties. And then there are
the shades that are just shadows and they eat everything. They, like, just devour everything.
They leave, like, no bacteria in the grass, the earthworms die, like, just everything.
Everything's gone.
And so, kind of, they're all like that. And then there are there's Unseelie royalty and Unseelie royalty, and they're powerful. They can, like, just kind of, like, sift, which is, like, just appearing wherever they want. They also have incredible sexual magnetism. Incredible.
Sex is very, 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 very important in these books.
When Michaela first meets the Unseelie Prince Verlaine, she's just ripping her clothes off in public, like, just like, do me now, do me right here in the middle of the street, like, let's just get it on. And so they have this power over her, and
the Unseelie Princes do the same, but they're a little bit more dangerous.
because they're not driven by any kind of morals. Neither are the Seelie really, but
But the Seelie, they can, like, tone themselves back, you know, because
they kind of have a relationship with humans, whereas the Unseelie have been sealed in their kind of dark realm for hundreds of thousands of years.
if you have sex with the Unseelie Princes, you get turned into what the book calls Priya, which is you're
just like a mindless thing that just wants sex all the time.
all the time.
And you will probably, like, you don't want to eat, you don't want to sleep, that's all you want to do is have sex.
And so you die. You die. That's it. You die.
It's just, there's nothing.
And so what does our beloved protagonist call these things? She has a term.
Death by sex fae.
Hey, Michaela, you're just so, like...
So witty.
So witty.
So, back to our story about the Unseelie King. So he's made all these Unseelie, and the queen kind of realizes what he's doing, and they all go to war, and the Unseelie queen ends up dying. And she doesn't pass on the Song of Making, so the world is kind of screwed, nothing else can ever be created. Then the king kind of turns around, and his beloved mortal has, like, killed herself because she's like, I don't like what you've become. So she stabs herself, she dies. He goes nuts and tries to rip all the darkness from his soul and turns it into the Shisa-Dub.
The evilest book alive.
And so he's hidden it somewhere kind of on Earth, and apparently it's running around, and Michaela is the only one who can sense it.
So that is your basic, like, plot of the first book. She's going around with this other guy who we probably should talk about, trying to find the thing, and the story just develops and gets more ridiculous, and just you run into all these other characters, including Dani, who I despise, and it's so addicting. Like, I can't, I hate it so much. I hate it so much, but I keep reading it. I found out there was a graphic novel, and I just bought it. I just bought it.
No questions asked.
It's just like, do you know how hard it was to find? It was so hard, but I found it.
Oh my god. So, like, I mean, their ultimate goal is to bind this book and, you know, seal it, stop it from, like, spreading its extreme evil. She meets a man named Barrons, who is totally got, like, this raw sexuality thing going on.
This cat, I'm sorry. You made the best connection ever. Barrons is Christian Grey. He is pre-Christian Grey, but he's Christian Grey.
So, my point being, Christian Grey is not original.
He likes cars.
He likes things.
He likes leather-bound books.
He likes sex.
A lot.
And the more you find out his backstory, I guess it kind of makes sense. There have been scenes that have proved this. He's like the alpha male, but he does, when Matt decides that she wants to do a thing, and she's committed, he's kind of, like, behind her all the way. He believes in her, he believes that she can do it, and he's not gonna, like, get in her way and be like, no, I'm gonna protect you. He's like, no.
Which is a little bit refreshing, but then again, this book is full of alpha males. Like, you can't throw a stone without hitting an alpha male character.
There are no beta males, let's put it that way.
You are in a tank of sharks. What did you like about this series? What made you happiest?
Especially in the first 5, I loved how well paced they were. Because I was just like, I'd be like reading and I'd be reading. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this down now. Holy crap, that happened. And I'd have to keep reading. And I just could not put it down because, like, just plot-wise, everything gelled. Most things didn't go on for too long. Like, you'd be like, okay, this has happened. Alright, she's freaking out about it. Oh my god, she's kind of gone, like, the wrong direction. This is gonna totally end badly. And you're like, oh look, that ended. That ended just when I needed it to end. I was just getting frustrated, and it's done.
I liked all the fae. I like just how batshit insane the different fae are. They just, like the, what's she called? The one who knits. She was my
hag.
She was my favorite. She knits people's guts. She just goes at it with her, bends her legs, and she just, like, jumps on you and drags you up with, like, she stabs you through, like she's impaled you, and then brings you off to her little hidey hole and knits your guts.
Yeah, she can disembowel you in, like, 2 seconds flat, just like.
The thing I found with a lot of fairies and fae in a lot of fiction is they're really, really played out to be very human.
Yeah.
And that's not really the way it was mythologically. Like, these are creatures you do not want to, like, mess with.
You don't break their rules.
They are alien. Like, they are not human. And she does that with hers. Like,
she describes them as having this worldview where if something is dead, it's not destroyed per se, it's just changed. Like, it just kind of changed form, like water to ice kind of thing. It's still itself, it's just different. And so that means, like, hey, a fairy's gonna have no problem just killing you because
they're just changing you.
Yeah. Their words for, like, creation and destruction are not separate. They are one concept. So
I love that. I thought that was great. Like, all of her fae are great.
I love the 9.
Yeah, the 9er.
They grow on you.
They do grow on you. Lore, I love you. You magnificent bastard. Later on in the series, you start to get more of the 9 because normally they're just referred to.
You don't even get their names. You don't even know that there are 9 of them until, like, book 5 maybe.
And so one of them is Lore, and Lore is this blonde Viking who really likes the ladies.
They all really like the ladies.
But Lore really likes the ladies. Lore really likes the blonde ladies. And he has an encounter with a Unseelie princess, and he begs Mac, like, Mac, don't tell them the truth, Mac. Tell them that I've been turned Priya. Tell them, Mac, please. I want a vacation.
Give me 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So she walks out. She's like, "Yeah, he's Priya.
It's over.
Just send in the women." So they're like, "Okay, well, anyone want to bang Lore?" Trail of women walk in.
And the thing about Lore, Max says it at one point, is that if he wasn't around the other 9, she thinks that he would have been different. Like, he'd be more
like a family man kind of thing then. And I don't know, the interesting thing about watching his character grow was because you had told me, like, oh, I like Lore, and so I was, like, reading through it, and he appears, and he's like a jackass, and then he appears, and he has, like, a moment of humanity in, like, the next book, and then goes back to being a jackass, and then finally, in the last book, he actually gets a personality. I don't think she meant to give him a personality, because you told me that she only meant to write 5 books. And she did, and that is probably the tightest part of the entire series, is those 5 books, like, just beginning to end. The story just clinches, and I mean, there's a whole lot of details that you don't even get answers to, because I think by the end of the 5th book, she's like, no, I think I'm going to write more, but that's the tightest part of the series, and you can tell that she didn't quite mean to give Lore a personality at the beginning.
Do you know how many books there are going to be now?
10?
10.
I know. I realize now that I'm going to have to wait. I almost don't want to read 8, 9, and 10 until 10 is out.
Oh, well, because the next one comes out January 16, 2016.
Woohoo!
And I am so excited. I have, like, it's so addictive. Like, it's so problematic. But it's so addictive.
It's so problematic. like that one line.
There's this line, and it's pissed me off to high hell. It was in Burned, the most recent book. And it basically is, like, as we said near the beginning, sex is very, 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 very important in these books. Like, sex is what makes the world go round. And one of the characters is talking to another, and it's just like, oh, you know, if you don't believe that way about sex, if you don't think sex is the one thing, it's because you just haven't had good enough sex. And I'm just sitting there looking at this book just like, but there are so many other things in life that are important. Like food.
Like, yeah. Like, clearly that's wrong, because look at the Priya, look how well they're doing. We need other priorities, people. But one thing that really got me was, again, in Burned, okay, so, Spoiler alert, but it's important. So Barons in the Nine have been living forever, kind of thing. They can't die, and what happens is, I guess, when they get too close to a woman, or like they start thinking about settling down, the other 8 will kill her. And it's just like, that's the rules. Like, don't get attached. And there's this one of them, his name's Castio, and about 1,000 years ago he fell in love and they killed her, and he has not said a word since. I think she's gonna get more into his character in the next ones. I'm excited for that. But anyways, so Barons is like, okay, well, you, good buddy, second in command, Royodan, you've fallen in love with Dani, and that's great. And Royodan's like, well, like, we're breaking all the rules that we've lived with for thousands of years. What are we gonna tell Castio? Like, we just, sorry, you fell in love 1,000 years too early. Like, better luck next time. And I was like, okay, fine, yeah. Like, I was thinking that myself. And then Barons utters the line, women have changed. And I was just like, no. You used to be in like a hunter-gatherer society, or just, in life 100 years ago, you were a woman on a farm, you were doing the farm work, you were strong, you were taking care of your family, you weren't like just like mothering your kids, you were like helping the cow pull the plow, and probably defending your home from invaders. Like, that was how it worked. Women have not changed.
And then there's the Dani issue. Dani is probably the most problematic thing about the series for me, and for 2 reasons. One, Dani is 15. Is she 15?
She's 14.
She's 14. She's young. She's spunky. She's the narrator in Ice, which was by far the worst book. And I think the best way I described it, when I originally read this book, I posted a blog post about it, and I said that it's like you have the sidekick, and you finally give the sidekick their own movie. Like Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo. All of a sudden, Scrappy-Doo is the focus. And you just can't do it. Because the reason they are there is to help the main character round out the main character. They are a one-track character.
She's got one thing going for her, and it's not enough to carry off the rest of the book.
And Dani's going around in this book, and all these men are trying to possess her. And at one point, Max says to her about Dani, like, not wanting to be possessed, like, oh, well, if you actually just accepted someone to take care of you, you'd have a relationship like I have with Barons.
You're just like,
and I'm like, oh my god.
Just, this kid is 14, and let her grow the fuck up.
And there are all these guys just, like, being super, like, creepy towards her, and just, it was awful. It was just so gross. And so there was a 2-year gap, 2 to 3 year gap, between Iced and Burned, because the plot was changed. Because, Karen Marie Moning actually made a blog post about this, saying that, no, nothing changed, but it, like, Burned felt a little bit forced. Or is that just me? It's just like, no, we're ushering away this way. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha.
I would say definitely after book 5, things have gone a little bit downhill. I mean, the plot of Iced I felt was a little more solid than the plot of Burned. Simply because, she had an enemy that she needed to face and defeat, and she was trying to do that, and, eventually she does it, and fine. But in Burned, it was kind of like, all
over the map.
Yeah, just like, oh, there are these black hole things that we have to deal with.
And we have to rescue Christian. Basically.
Yeah.
That's...
So it could have kind of been a lot shorter.
Burned kind of feels like that middle book in a trilogy is.
Yeah. And to be honest, none of them have felt like middle books. No. Like, start to finish, it was just go, 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 go. This is all important. We're not just feeding you stuff. But Burned was just kind of coasted.
I was just happy Dani wasn't the narrator anymore. That was like my thing.
Well, especially when you read the earlier books 1 through 5, Dani does get a perspective like maybe once or twice, and it is the most obnoxious thing you have ever read. Like, it isn't almost in another language. It is just
It's like you're being screamed at.
But you're being screamed at by somebody who only talks in abbreviations. That is how, like, legit it is. Just
And, like, super disgustingly self-promotional.
just it hurts. And I mean, she turns it into actual words for the book, but it's still a character who you feel like should be shouting all their lines and, like, doing the Tasmanian devil through every scene. Just kind of obnoxious.
That's the Fever series. We've managed to actually not mention a lot of plot stuff, so if this interests you, go check it out. Tell us what you think, because this is probably my biggest guilty pleasure. Like, I hate it, but I love it. I love it, and I hate it. It's just, like, so just kind of mixed up together, you know? It's just, oh. I know when the book comes out, I will friggin' read it, like, day after. I've yet to actually just, like, impulse buy the novels when they come out. It's coming. One day I'm just gonna be like, hey, Chelsey, I bought the entire Fever series. Want to read it again?
No.
But it is not that day.
No. I'm just waiting for them to release a box set. I'm not gonna buy it.
She says.
I'm not.
It's already probably on pre-order.
It's not. I've got more self-control than you.